Welcome to Homeschooling and Life Unfiltered with Court and Jess, where real talk meets real life. Court and Jess are two friends, fellow moms, and business partners who live in different time zones and juggle homeschooling alongside motherhood and entrepreneurship. Jess is a mom of 8 and Court is a mom of 7, and together they're raising 15 kids and navigating the wild, wonderful world of homeschooling, each in completely different ways. Every week, we invite you to pull up a chair for honest conversations, practical tips, and uplifting encouragement. You'll hear from moms across the country who are homeschooling in a way that works best for their families. Whether you're a veteran homeschool mom just getting started or somewhere in between, this is your space to feel seen, supported, and inspired. Because no matter how different our paths may look, we are all in this together. Hey everyone, welcome to Homeschooling and Life Unfiltered with Court and Jess, episode 2. Get to know Court and Jess. All right, we are going to pick up right where we left off last time. Okay, so I am Court. And
or Jess, both. I answered both.
All right, the first question is, do you participate in co-ops, sports, or community classes?
All right. Am I up this time or are you? I can't remember.
You go.
Okay, so can you say it again? Sports, co-op,
or community classes?
Or community classes. So yes, we're a huge sports family. And so yes, we love our sports. We have kids that play all kinds of sports. Sorry, I'm going to tinker with my microphone here for a second.
Do you participate in like club sports or like community, like city sports or school sports?
Both. Yeah, both. So we have in our town, the way that it works is you have club sports for the summer. So really like summer off-season leagues. And then we go through the Minnesota High School League, so it's the public school system when they are in junior high or high school. And so we have kids that play soccer. We have kids that have played football, baseball. We also do participate with some of the schools for like speech and debate. So our kids do speech and debate with the local high school. Or I shouldn't say our kids. We have 2 sons who've done speech and debate with the local high school. And then we have kids who've participated in theater with the local high school. It's a little bit interesting in Minnesota. It's as a homeschool, we can co-op with another school. So our kids actually, like for example, for soccer, we didn't want to play with the big high school here. So we co-opt with a local private Catholic school. So our kids play and have played for many years with this local Catholic school, and we co-op just like any other school would co-op with that school. So because in Minnesota, our homeschools really are recognized as an independent school in some regards, which is great. So
is it free to do that?
It is not free. So we have to pay the Minnesota High School League as a school, which can be a little bit expensive. And then we also have to pay like the school fees as well if we co-op with a school. If we just participate in the local district that we are like our residential district, then we just pay the normal fees that every other school or every other student pays. And they have like a family out-of-pocket max that you can pay. So sometimes we hit that, and then we just have then everything is free once you've hit that cap.
Interesting.
And then co-ops we are big lifetime classical conversations family. So we love our classical conversations. We go, actually have kids in 2 different campuses because I have 2 girls that are in they're the same age. They're in the same level of challenge, which is their junior high school program. And they need a little break from each other. So we have one goes to campus number 1 in town and one goes to campus 2. So one of them goes to Monday co-op, and she's actually already started. It's it's barely mid-August and she just started. And then in the next week, our other community starts, and that's on Fridays, which is my personal favorite.
Oh, awesome. So what does your daughter, the one on Mondays, do when you guys are all gone on Fridays? I'm just curious. It's to me to have different co-ops.
Yeah. So it's different. Last year was our first year. And since we have 2 parents that work from home, which is such a blessing. One parent, she just stayed home with one parent. But this year, I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I plan to work from, or one of it will alternate working from the campus. I have a daughter who wants me to sit in on her class this year. So I don't know how long she'll want me in there, but not very often do your teenagers want you to be a part of their class, I feel like. So I'm seizing the opportunity. So I'm not sure what our other daughter, Mia, is the one who goes to the Monday ones. But we also have a grandma who's local and who has helped with schoolwork and things like that. So she may go hang out at grandma's. So she has a little maturing to do to stay home by herself for a long day. Like, let's just leave it at that. So she won't be staying home all day, but yeah, so we'll see.
Interesting. All right. So obviously, like, we are very similar, but also very, very different. So we do things a little different here. We do a family co-op. So everyone goes together and it's like a half a day, kind of a 9 to noon thing. And then they do high school classes in the afternoon. We've done it we've been part of a co-op for forever. I've always been part of a co-op or a group of some kind. This year, we're actually transitioning to a new co-op. It's like a sister co-op to a previous co-op. So we meet every week. And previously, we've always met every other week. So we've had every other Friday. But that will be fun. We're doing that this year. And then my kids do, my kids are not real big sports people like you are. So we do dance lessons. I have a son that does skateboarding and he does parkour, like ninja, like American Ninja Warrior. He does that. It's so entertaining to watch. It's so fun to watch. And then we have gymnastics and like tumbling and things like that. But we've never participated in any of the school sports at any of our campuses. So
that is so interesting. Yeah, very different. It's such a big part of our life. It's very, very different. But sometimes wish that we weren't a sports family because it is nuts.
It kind of consumes your whole life. I remember that when I was like younger, my brothers played baseball and we like lived at the baseball field 4 days a week. We took dinner, everything was there. So
yep.
I'm not sad that we don't do that.
Yeah, no. And I'm not a diehard as in, they have to do it. It's just kind of how Wes and I both played a lot of sports. And so, it was just kind of like this natural unfolding of things. Also, I will say though, that where we live in southern Minnesota, there's not a ton of other things for kids to do besides sports. So if we had, if we were raising our kids like in the Phoenix metro or in even just the Minneapolis metro, I don't know how that might have looked differently for us. But there's definitely opportunities up there that we just don't have access to down here. And then I forgot about dance. Dance does actually consume our life to a ridiculous degree. Yeah. And we just have 2 girls in dance.
Yeah, I agree with that one. All right. How do you handle transitions between grade levels or from homeschool to traditional school or college? You go ahead. You go first.
Oh, you want me to go first on this one? Okay.
Sure. I asked the question, so you go first.
Okay. Can you say it one more time?
Yeah. So how do you handle transitions between grade levels or from homeschooling to traditional school if your kids went to that or into college?
Yeah. This is a really loaded question. That's like 3 separate questions in one. Okay. So transitions between grades or super traditional for the most part. So over the summer, we might be finishing up math or maybe we aren't finishing up math or maybe we're just doing math because I feel like it's important and we should be doing math over the summer. And then they move into the next grade level. I did a few. So our oldest daughter, who's 22, has an early May birthday. And so I launched her as, she went off to college when she had just been 18 for a few months. And she was definitely ready and she was very mature, but I didn't love that. And so I had this moment of panic the year that I graduated her, realizing that my then 10-year-old Corey, I think I did that quick math right, would have the same fate and actually be even younger than Lexi was when we graduated her. So admittedly, in like this moment of panic, I held her back for a year and was like, oh, we're actually going to, and it didn't really change what we did in our schoolwork. It just changed the title. And she was really mad at me for a really long time. Anytime, right? Because it always happens as a homeschooler where people are like, oh, what grade are you in? And your kids look at you with these panicked eyes of like, I don't know. What do I say? Because we're there, they do 6th grade in math and they're doing, 5th grade in reading and science. We're doing, a multi-grade approach. And so every time for a solid year, 2 years, maybe even, if somebody asked me what grade she was in or asked her, she wouldn't answer them and she just would scowl at me. So then I ended up this year putting her back in like her original projected grade. So she started the junior high program for classical conversations. But my plan is on paper to continue to keep her like held back, and she just let her progress through the challenge program though. And then she'll complete that program through the final 4th year, but then I'll have her for another year at home after that. It wasn't a great feeling to launch a child who's been 18 for 2 weeks. Or, well, I guess by the time she left for college, had been 18 for a couple months. And it worked out well. But I definitely think even with how mature our daughter was and how ready she was academically, another year at home would have only benefited her. Like I said, it didn't hold her back in any way, but it definitely would have hurt her. So that's our weird grade level story. And then transitioning to college, our kids typically in their 4th year of high school, they do what's called PSEO, post-secondary education. Here in Minnesota, it's free. So they can actually start in 10th grade with technical courses. And then 11th and 12th grade, they can do full classes. And I mean, there are eligibility requirements. They have to be accepted into the school. So our son, he'll be the 3rd one that we graduate from our homeschool. He's taking a little bit different path than the other 2 kiddos. He did classical conversations challenge program for 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th grade. But instead of doing 1 more year and then doing PSEO, he's actually doing PSEO this year. So he'll get a 2-year associate's degree in auto mechanics. So he is a really just hands-on. He's super, super smart and just really hands-on, and he loves cars and he loves engines. And we just don't have, like, I looked for, ideally I had wanted him to stay in challenge and then do like an apprenticeship. And I looked and I couldn't find one. I'd cast a pretty wide net and either people don't do apprenticeships anymore or they already had an apprentice. And so really and then there's no, like, we don't have any co-ops or any resources here locally to get him that engine experience. And my husband just doesn't have that mechanic experience to teach him beyond the very basics, which he's already done. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit apprehensive. I'm not sure what it means. There's some other homeschooled kids that are going to be doing the program with him, which I'm really excited about. Some good kids. But it's just really different. We've never done this before, where we'll have a kid who graduates with a degree the same year the same time that he graduates high school. But he's excited about it. We're excited about it. It'll be really good for him.
It's awesome. You just need to make sure his community college graduation is before his high school graduation. I don't know if you know that, but if that happens, so say he graduates community college like May 15th, but his actual high school graduation date as May 25th.
Yeah.
So he'll still enter college as a freshman.
Oh, I know that. Okay.
Yeah. There's my little tip for you. Yeah.
Well, and we ran into this issue with our daughter because she had, well, I guess, no, that isn't the same issue. I was going to say she had some credits and that she was a transfer student when she moved over to BYU, but it was because she already had a year of like actual out of high school college. So that makes sense. Yep. Yeah, that's super good to know. I am going to write that down.
There you go. See, full of useless knowledge in my brain. All these random things that I've collected over the years.
I love it.
For us, we really just transition from year to year, just like normal. Everybody, we do a back to school outfit and, donuts for breakfast on the first day of school, just very simple, nothing fancy. When my kids get to high school, they either get their associates or we have a tech high school that our students can go to their junior and senior year. And so all of my kids so far have gone through the tech high school, and it's awesome because they have a really good graduation, like this really big graduation ceremony that's at like our
one of our stadiums. And so it's huge, and it's a really nice ending. And it's not something that I could really do on my own. So that's kind of how we transition into whatever's next, what they're going to. But mine was very simple. I don't have anything fancy. We, most of my kids have gone, I have a daughter in nursing school. So she got her like CNA license as part of a tech high school, and then did a year of community college, and then is doing a private nursing school right now. So she has until next May. And then my oldest daughter did cosmetology. So she got her cosmetology license in high school for free. Basically, the tech high school is free in Arizona. And then now has a fantastic business. And so anyways, yeah, that's kind of what we do. Nothing fancy over here. Very traditional.
That's all right, though. I like traditional too.
Right. All right. How do you manage self-care or avoid burnout as a homeschool mom?
Oh, why don't you take that one first?
All right. I actually just taught a class on this, so it's like fresh on my brain. Excuse me. I always say that I have, I think it came from Sarah McKenzie, and it's a rule of 6. And so I have a rule of 6 for myself. And these are the 6 things that I need to do for me to make sure that I am filling up my bucket. Because we all know that when mama's buckets are empties, everybody knows, everybody can feel it everywhere, all the way around. So one of my things is I get a full night's sleep. I get in 8 hours of sleep. I am a hardcore, like, 10 o'clock, those lights go out at the latest. And that actually is like 9 hours of sleep if I were to actually fall asleep at 10 o'clock and not wake up till 7, my alarm goes off. But I'm not a very good sleeper. So somewhere in those 9 hours, I get at least 8 hours. Read. Every day I read. That's one of my things that kind of fills my bucket up, is reading. I like to create things. So cooking dinner or cooking is something I do, but I also will knit, and I crochet, and I don't crochet very often, but I like to cross stitch or embroider. I just do something, but I do something creative for me. And again, when I'm talking about these things, they're not things that I necessarily do every single day, but it's kind of over the scope of a week or a month. I know that if I haven't done some of these things, I get a little grumpy, and I get stressed out because I'm not filling up that bucket for myself. So a weekly date night with my husband, just having that time to connect with him. I really like to play games. And so we play a lot of games in our family. So if we haven't carved out time to play some games, those are like connection points for me with the kids. Like, that's just kind of how we all connect on a level. So I think that was 5 of my 6 things, but that's kind of what I think. And I always know when I start to get super grumpy and stressed out, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing these things, and you can feel it. So that's what I like.
I love that. I'm definitely not probably as good as you are. Definitely know that I'm not. I attended your class, and it was really good, and it was really helpful. So for me, for personal care, I do work really hard to get good sleep. But I have to balance it a little bit, because part of my self-care is also having some alone time to myself in the evening. So I just have to make sure I don't take too much alone time, and then I'm up too late, and then I can't get the sleep that I need. But yeah, definitely sleep is a big one. And then also for me, it's, I definitely have a sweet tooth, but I do try to eat, minimally processed food or not processed food, and things like that. And so, just having a good diet is good for me. But yeah, some of the other things, I don't think on this podcast, you and I have talked about it, but I don't think on the podcast we've talked about the joy lists. Did we talk about that? I don't think so. Okay, so
I can't remember. I remember talking to you about it, but I don't remember where we talked about it.
So every year I update it, but I basically, on my phone, my husband and I both do it. I have a joy list. So it's the things that bring me joy. So when I am feeling like I'm on the cusp of burnout, or I'm just having a really hard day, I'll look at my joy list and be reminded of what brings me joy. And then I take action. So I'm looking at my, my joy list right now. And one of the ones is camping. So I love to go camping. I don't really know why. I mean, I don't know. It's so much work to go camping with this many kids, but I love it so much. So that's one. But summer drives, music, it's a huge list of things that bring me joy. And so, like I said, if I'm feeling like I'm on the cusp of burnout, then I'll pull this list up, and either just being reminded of all the great things is enough to sometimes just kind of keep me going, or But more often than not, then I'll actually do something from the list or make a plan to do something on the list. And so that's our joy list. I really love. And then I also have a separate list that is things that rob me of my joy. And that one I just go to like quarterly to it's kind of like a self-check. Hey, am I letting any of these things kind of creep up in my life? And then make adjustments as needed. So that's kind of the other self-care thing for me. But the biggest self-care for me is I really need to be out in the sun for at least 10 minutes every morning. So walking outside, just exposing, my eyes to the natural light first thing in the morning and being outside. I love to be outside, not in the winters, but when the weather is nice, I love to be outside. I love nature. So, and then I also love to read. I don't find as much time as I should with reading, but yeah, those are my things.
I love it. I love that joy list. I forget about that. I want to do that. I love that idea of like writing down. We should do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, I really love it. It's really, really helpful. And it's amazing when you are really kind of down, your mood is down, or you're really crabby. It's hard to remember what brings you joy.
Oh,
like
for
you're
sure.
caught in a moment and you're like, well, nothing sounds fun and everything is terrible. So I don't know. It's really been a lifesaver for me.
I love it. I think that's awesome. All right. If you could give I skipped a question. How does your husband contribute or support your homeschool, and how has it changed over the years?
Can you read that one more time?
Yep. It says, how does your husband contribute or support your homeschool, and how has it changed over the years? I can answer this one. I'll start. So we go to a homeschool conference in Arizona. There's a huge homeschool conference with like thousands of people that go every year, and we make it our weekend. And so we go and we stay at a hotel, and he takes the classes for the dads and walks around the vendor hall with me and listens to me talk about things. And it's his contribution to homeschool. Like, it makes him feel slightly, kind of involved. And we talk about the pros and cons of different things. And ultimately, I'm the one that does the majority of it. But that's his weekend to, contribute. And he'll go to classes and get ideas, and we'll come down and brainstorm. And so it's kind of fun. It's just kind of what we've done over the years. We've been doing it for as long as I can remember. So, it's a long time. When our kids were tiny, we didn't do it. Obviously, I just kind of went for the day and I would go with friends, but we've been doing it like this probably for at least 10 years. Maybe 8 or 9, because I bet you we didn't do it until like Macy, my youngest, was old enough to not have to go with us. Like, I didn't have a nursing baby. It's probably about the last 9 years, which is a long time. Other than that, he'll help out with, at the end of the day, like, we didn't get reading done, like, we're going to read together, or he's going to, let's have a quiet reading time. That always tends to be the last thing done, where they sneak in and they haven't done their reading yet for the day. So we do it. It just depends. He'll be included in like audiobooks in the car. We go on road trips, like for book clubs, and he does participate. We have a family book club that we go to, that the dads help lead when we, it's a month that we're in charge. We do it as a couple. So little things like that.
Do the kids go with you to that family book club, or what does that look like?
Oh yeah, it's a family book club, and so it's broken up by ages. So you've got like the younger kids, the older elementary, the middle school, and the high school. And then the couple, we pick a book, we both read it, we go lead the discussion and the activity.
That's awesome. And then you just rotate the houses, and those are the people that are in charge of that.
Yeah. Oh, so what happens is, this is the best part. It's once a month. I don't have to cook dinner. So we all go, and whoever's hosting that month cooks dinner for everybody. And then we all rotate. So there's 8 months, I think, in a school year. And there's I think 8 families, and there's 4 things a month. So it rotates. So every other month or something, we end up teaching. We teach each grade level once.
Got it.
So 4 out of the 8 months I'm teaching. And whenever you're hosting at your house, you're not teaching that month.
Oh, nice.
So that kind of thing. So it's really fun. I love it.
And so like for the parents, is it a new book each time you go?
Every month. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. And we try to combine it. So like the middle school and the upper elementary often will read the same book. So then we do it like it's a family read aloud. And even the younger kids sometimes, because our youngers aren't very young anymore. We don't really have any of the preschool age. Now they're in those, because as we all gotten older, those early elementary. So we do a lot of books as family read alouds. Our high schools read their own kind of set of books, but the other grades, we try to keep it as much as we can. Sometimes the junior high will read the high school book. It just depends upon what the book is and what's going on. But yeah, it's fun.
That makes sense. Sorry, we got on a tangent there, but it was super interesting. Our daughter does a book club and really has enjoyed it. It was just this last year. So for us, it's sometimes just so crazy how similar we are. We also, for at least a decade, so since, probably a decade, have been doing our date night as our Miche homeschooling conference in Minnesota. So they rotate between 3 locations geographically, but we love it. So we go. We didn't go this year just because we had a new baby, but we go every year. We love it. They are the same people that put on the they do a big graduation ceremony, and they do a phenomenal job. But it's just an amazing statewide homeschooling community, and they always have really, really great speakers. And it's funny because, again, just like you, I have my list of, just like you and Jeremy, I have my list of classes I'm going to, and my husband has his list of classes, and we just meet up for lunch and vendor hall. And so, but then of course we get the evenings to spend together as well. And Wes also helps with reading out loud. That's one thing that I feel a little guilty about, because it seems like every homeschooling mom I know loves reading out loud to their kids. I just don't love it. But I also don't really like fiction. So I think that's my problem. I like historical fiction. That's as close to fiction as I can get. It has to be like pretty historically accurate though. And my kids really enjoy like fantasy books and fiction and things like that. And Wes really gets into them, my husband. So they just prefer that he does it as well. I really enjoy reading to my babies and toddlers. That is super fun for me. But when you get into those chapter books that are fiction, I don't find joy in it. So my husband does that for me, and it's really great. They have all kinds of books that they love together. The Secret Zoo. Have you heard of that series?
Mm-mm.
That is their favorite one. I think they're done with it now though, but it is a really, really good one. They really liked. The other thing is he helps me check work for my big kids. So their work, he's not grading it. He's just checking to make sure it was done. I did my logic work. Okay, great. Show me the logic. Yeah. And then also he might be the world's biggest history buff. So him and the kids just naturally talk about history, and we do history things as a family. I like history too, but we're, the family that pulls over and reads all the historical markers that we passed on the way to wherever we're going. It's actually a little awful to go to museums with him and some of my older kids, because they read, heaven forbid they miss one placard. They read every single placard, and me and the little kids are, waiting at the end for the last hour while they finish. It always gets to a point where we go back in and have to say, okay, take pictures of the rest of the placards. You can read them on the drive home. But I love it. I love that that's who he is. And it really does contribute really richly to our homeschool. Actually, our oldest is majoring in anthropology with a emphasis on archaeology, which it's all Wes. It all came from their mutual love of history and late night discussions and things like that. So
that's so fun. I love it. I was just gonna say I love to read the plaques, but my kids hate it. They're awful. They just like zoom right through, and I was like, "You're not learning anything," and they're like, "Well, we are. It's different." Anyway, so I was just gonna say take pictures, because that's an easy way to go back and look at it.
Yes.
All right. If you could give yourself one piece of advice from when you started, what would it be?
Like if I could go back and give advice to my
your younger self.
Gosh.
I have mine. You want it?
Yeah, you go.
Chill out. And it doesn't have to be school at home. Like it doesn't have to be. So I was a brick and mortar teacher. Like I taught elementary school. So I tried to create like school at home. Like I had the spelling list, all, these little file, just like I did when I was at Canvas, I had 36 weeks, and each week had their math that we were going to do and the spelling that we were going to do, and like all of it. I was so like organized, and it's just like I taught my classroom. It doesn't need to be that way. That is so excessive for homeschool. Let your kids have fun. Just chill out. That's 100% a plaque that should be on every mom's wall when they start to homeschool. Just chill out.
I love it. I love that. Mine would definitely be that that consistency is the goal, not perfection. So I just by nature a perfectionist to in the early years, a crippling degree, right? Like if I couldn't pull off the perfect way to teach, the bones in the body, I would just, almost obsess over what's the perfect song to go with this diagram. And I need the coloring sheet that matches it. And then, now I need a hands-on game to reinforce it. And I just had this idea. And this was even really before Pinterest was really big, right? Pinterest was there, but it wasn't like it is now. But I just had this preoccupation or obsession with it being perfect. And then what would end up happening was either I'd never finish planning, so then the lesson didn't happen, or I planned right up to the very last minute, and then there was no time to do all these great plans. Right now we're down to 20-minute span. I've planned 3 hours of lessons learning how to identify bones and remember bones. And now we have 20 minutes. So we're going to do this abbreviated version. And I'm crabby about it the whole time because I know how it could have been. I just kind of would have admitted defeat in those early days and been like, well, I guess we're just not going to learn about bones, And so I've come so far, obviously, in the last dozen years, but to my early self, that's what I would have said is, your kids don't need you to be perfect. They need you to just show up, and show up with a good attitude, and that they're watching how you respond to what you perceive as a failure, but really is just a lack of perfection, which is not a failure.
Yeah. Oh, I remember those days. That was back when we used to have to use like magazines, like, the parent magazines to get the ideas, and Pinterest has really made our lives a lot easier. I will say that, but also not because it gives you too many options.
Yeah.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Yep. Well, the other problem too, I think with Pinterest is I do love Pinterest, but all of the moms who are on there who are giving you a picture of their their tidy, perfect little homeschool room. Like it looked like that for 10 minutes when I took the picture, but any other day, they probably are in what the Fly Lady calls the chaos syndrome, right? Can't have anybody over syndrome. And so it just gives unrealistic expectations. So I think there's a little bit of a dark side to Pinterest, but in setting up unrealistic expectations, but I do use it and love it.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Fly Lady. I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Yeah.
All right. What would you say to a parent who's considering homeschooling but feels unsure?
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing would be diving into why they feel unsure. I think our culture has really set people up to believe that you can't homeschool your kids well unless you have a degree. There's a lot of misunderstandings and also prejudices against homeschooling. And maybe at one time, some of those were more valid, but in the age of information, there's no reason that most parents couldn't do a good job homeschooling. But yeah, I would definitely dig into the reasons of, why they're feeling inadequate. And if it really is that, and there are some families that shouldn't homeschool, right? Like there are some situations where it would, like their worries might be valid. But for the most part, families, there's just enough resources and support out there. We have this tiny town. I mean, not tiny, but we're not a metro area. And we have hundreds and hundreds of families that homeschool here in rural southern Minnesota, and just in our, little 30-mile radius. And so there's just such a huge support network. So I guess all that to say, the biggest thing I guess I would say to them is find your people, find people that are doing this, homeschooling alongside them. Some of those moms that I met and that encouraged me in the early days of my homeschool are still they're still my close friends, and they're still my source of information and my support system. And so finding those people really early on, I think, is probably the absolute most critical thing you can do.
I love it. The other thing I would add to that, because everything you said was totally spot on, what I would say is that even if you're in a community that doesn't necessarily have it, you don't know any yet, Instagram and Facebook, and there's a million out there online that you can use for resources. It doesn't have to be somebody that you know locally. It can be somebody that you find online that has kids similar ages that are inspiring, and full of resources and ideas. So we're not as confined in, there used to be nothing. You used to have to go to the library and you check out books. Like I remember when I started, I checked out every single, shocking, I'm a nerd, books. Every book in the library that had the word homeschool in it. I read them all. And that used to be it. Like that was it. But now there's just so many other resources and tips and tricks and tools. I mean, don't underestimate the library. There's a lot of really good books in there on how to homeschool. So that's also a really good place to start.
I love that.
All right. Even if nothing else goes right, what are your top 5 things that you want to do every day in your homeschool to make you feel successful?
Gosh, I know you have your 5, so you can go first.
Okay, I should have pulled it up. This was part of that class I just taught.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine is family school. We do family school every single day, and family school is where we do World Watch News. We do some kind of scripture study. We rotate through like history and grammar and Mad Libs and art and just things like that, like the stuff that we do all together as a family. We read every single day. And this goes to, I was going to say this before when you said that you don't like to read out loud. One, it's going to be my goal in life is to help you get to love fiction. I'm just telling you, I'm not giving up on you. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a read aloud. You can listen to an audiobook. So right now, during our family school time, because games are important, I put our game time. So we play a silent math type game. So like we might play Sky Joe, or we might play, I'm drawing a blank, a Yahtzee or something, whatever, a game that doesn't require a lot of talking. And we listen to our audiobook for 20 minutes while we play a game together. So it like kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. So it doesn't necessarily have to be I'm reading it out loud, but we're doing a family read aloud of some kind. We do math every day, single day. And it might be a math game, or it might be grocery shopping, or, you know what I mean? Something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be you did a worksheet in a math or a math worksheet. We make time for like to pursue interests. Like that's something that's really important to me. And so everybody has different things that they want to pursue, whether it be, Lego building or, I can't even think, or skateboarding or dance or whatever. My daughter asked me the other day, she's like, so for creative time, we call it creative time in our schedule. She's like, can I build a house in Minecraft? And I was like, well, we have a video game only rule, like on Fridays and Saturdays. Like they're not supposed to do it any other day but Friday and Saturday, because I was just tired of saying no all the time and having to monitor it. And I was like, that is a stretch, but I guess so. If you can come and show it to me afterwards and like show me all the ins and outs. And she has all these like secret little hidden rooms. And anyway, so I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. It's creative. But we make time for creative to pursue interests. And then we have family dinner together. That's like my hill I die on. And I know that doesn't really have anything to do with school, but it's a connection piece that to me is really important to have that anchor at the end of the day, which has been a little difficult with our new schedule. My son has his parkour class from like 6 to 8, 2 nights a week. And we normally eat dinner at 6 o'clock every night at my house. Everyone's around the table. So we've had to maneuver that a little bit. It's been a little tricky though. This just started. So I'm still trying to figure that part out. But those are probably the 5 things that if we've done those 5 things, even if everything else got derailed and we didn't do any other school, if we played a game, we did some read aloud, we did family school. And a lot of those things are attached to family school. So basically if we do family school, I feel mostly accomplished for the day. We did something.
I love that. For us, it's math for sure. And then similar kind of what you were describing about the passion. What did you call it again?
Should pursue interests.
Yeah. Did you call that time of creative time?
Creative time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So creative play is another one. I love to see my kids just, whatever they want to do, whether they're playing, like I have a 10-year-old daughter who's really into those little G.I. Joe figures. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the army guys, the little tiny army guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Found them in the basement from her brothers, and she just has a blast with them, and she'll set them all over, or they'll build a fort, or they'll sew, something like that. So I love to see them being creative and imaginative. Like that's one of my big things I want them to do every day. So math, creative play, we call it morning basket or morning time, which is your family school.
Family school. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then independent reading, and then a read aloud too. So those are, I guess that would be 5. And then I guess I'll add a 6. It's not as homeschool related, but the meal time as well. So we do always want to have at least one meal together. Used to always be dinner. but our kids got so busy with work and school, our big kids, that this past year, our son suggested that we do breakfast. And that was actually a blast. And so we used to, previous to that, our kids were responsible for kind of doing their own breakfast thing. But for probably not the whole last school year, but maybe the last 6 months of the school year, we did breakfast together, and it was really, really fun. We rotated who made food. Yeah. So just having that time to sit down around the table is definitely one of my hits the top list of important things for our family.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So like, I mean, obviously I have grown kids and married kids that don't live at home anymore. But people always ask me like, how do you still, like, how do you see your kids? Or I was like, cook and they come. Like they do. My daughter and son-in-law come for dinner like 3 nights a week. And it might just be a long day for her at work. And she'll be like, Mom, what are you cooking for dinner? Can we come over for dinner? And so, I mean, so now I know when she left, I was like, oh, okay, I can, make less food, but I still make the same amount of food because they still show up all the time. And they talk about it all the time. So like we have friends, everyone knows that, 6 o'clock, 6:15 dinner at the Shaw's house. And so we have friends that come over because their parents don't cook anymore because like they're the youngest of the family, and they'll come over for dinner just because they're like, I haven't had, like, I don't get this anymore. And so it's neat. It's kind of neat. It's just like this open table, like anybody can come, come whoever you want, we always eat at this time. And it's neat to see. And they appreciate it, especially when they've like, anytime they go somewhere for a while and then they come back, they're like, oh, this isn't normal. Not everybody does this. And so it's kind of something that it's my hill that I will die on because it brings them home. Right?
I love that. And isn't it nice when they get out in the real world and they realize that, oh, that's really special that we did that, and then they appreciate you? That is pretty awesome.
So we went on a random Tuesday night date night last night, right? Because today's Wednesday. And so, because I had been sick and we hadn't gone out in a long time. And so we went out. And so the kids, they were all like, what do you mean there's no dinner? Because I don't cook on date night. That's like the one night I don't cook. They were all so mad that I didn't cook. And I was like, you know what? You guys are so spoiled. Anyways,
I love it.
They do appreciate it.
That's awesome.
All right. The last question on here, this one is entertaining, is what's the craziest comment or question you've ever received about homeschooling?
Well, actually I have two. So, there's an educator in our family who has been a lifetime educator. Well, I mean, lots of them. Actually, my mother-in-law was a lifetime educator too. She's been super, super supportive of our homeschool. I don't think a negative word, at least to me, has ever come out of her mouth about our homeschooling. She's a huge support. And same with my mom, huge, huge supporter. But I have an aunt who, when I announced right on Facebook and I actually just saw this memory come up on Facebook, so I was reminded of it, that we were going to homeschool. She got on there, right, and yelled, right, and I'm going to put my little quotes up, yelled, because it was in all caps, like, hope you know what you're doing. This is a life, this is a long-term commitment. It's so important, blah, blah, blah. But so that's kind of the craziest one, or one of the crazy ones. But actually, and I'm not going to say who said it, because this relationship's really important to me. But it was actually a comment that in my naive state as a young mom and young homeschooling mom, I didn't realize that it was a negative thing until years later. So we had somebody who was really and continues to be an important part of our life, who we had just kind of told everybody that we're going to be homeschooling. And they came up afterwards and they're like, or they came up to us and said, after we had announced in person, and said, hey, I heard you guys are going to be homeschooling. Can I talk to you a little bit about that? And in my naive state, I'm like, oh, they're interested in learning about homeschooling. And I was in this stage, right, where I'm like, everybody should homeschool. And I was so excited about it. And I was so passionate about it. And it was just all new. And I knew it was the right thing. And so they were kind of quizzing me about, well, how are you going to teach math? What about like advanced math and like all of these things? And like I said, it wasn't until years later that I reflected on that conversation and was like, oh, they were concerned about us homeschooling. They weren't mean about it, but they were definitely kind of quizzing and fishing. And interestingly enough, this year, so this was like 12 years ago. And now keep in mind that this is a family that we really look up to and love and genuinely just value their opinion and their perspective. But just in the last year, the father of this family actually talked to Wes about what a great job we've done with our kids and how fun it has been to watch, and how this person is actually hoping that their grandkids might end up being homeschooled at some point. And this is somebody who is has a very advanced degree and has done very well in life. So that was really nice. And one thing that I talked about, I did a conference talk this morning about working in homeschooling, was not letting other people tell your story, right? Don't engage with the story that they tell about your life. And in there, I talked about how we should let time tell our story, and that time is a very reliable way to watch. It's a very reliable way of telling a story, right? It's always going to come and tell, kind of show you what your decision has brought about. And so it was great to have him circle back and say, hey, I've watched over this past 12 years and I'm really impressed. But like I said, in the moment, naive homeschooling mom Jessica had no idea they were concerned, and I thought they were just really interested.
That's funny. I think the craziest thing that anybody ever said to me about it, when it came from my mom, and I bet you she probably doesn't even remember saying it, but when I first said that I was going to homeschool, she was like, that's crazy. How are they ever going to learn how to stand in line? That's what she said to me. That was one of the things. And I was like, what? I'm like, at the time, I've had at least 5 kids, I think, at the time, by the time Sydney got to kindergarten. And I was like, my kids stand in line to wash their hands before lunch. Like, we have one sink in the bathroom. They just stand in line everywhere. Anyways, that's probably the funniest thing that someone's ever said to me. And again, like, it's the time, because now we've been doing it for forever. Kids have graduated, and my kids are normal, well-adjusted, like, smart little kids. And so my mom has seen that now. I mean, now it's totally fine, and she wouldn't think anything of it. But I just remember that when the kids were little, she was like, how are they ever going to learn how to do normal things like stand in line? And anyways, so I still shake my head and laugh. I tell everybody that. Everyone always asks that, what's the craziest question? And that's always mine. But I actually should ask her. I'm sure she doesn't even remember ever even saying it. But
that is so funny.
I mean, it was, gosh, like 20 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago. But anyways,
poor Schloss kids don't know how to stand in the line.
I know, we don't know how to stand in line. Michael, that's why I had so many, so we would at least learn how to stand in line, right? One trip to Disneyland will cure everyone of not being able to stand in a line.
Oh, yeah, exactly. No kidding.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been so fun. I hope you've gotten to know us a little bit and you are excited about joining us on our little new adventure that we're doing. We will have new topics every week that we will be chatting about. So everybody have a great week, month, time. Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.